This is the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and it's definitely Apple's most ambitious iPhone yet, and naturally it also commands a pretty steep premium. Now, in my review of the iPhone 12 Pro, I said that if you are thinking of going all out on your iPhone purchase this year, then you should probably spend a bit more money and get the Pro Max model instead of the regular 12 Pro. And after using the 12 Pro Max for about a week, I think I was right in making that assumption. Now for this review, I will be focusing mainly on the differences between the 12 Pro Max and the regular 12 Pro. Now we've already covered most of the details in the 12 Pro review, so if you haven't seen that already, do check it out. Now before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and also hit that bell icon so you're the first to know whenever we have a new video. Let's kick off with the difference in pricing. It starts at about 1,30,000 rupees and there's roughly a premium of 10 grand over all the variants of the iPhone 12 Pro in India. Apple has sent me the same Pacific Blue trim yet again, but it's also available in graphite, silver and gold, which means you have the same color options as the iPhone 12 Pro. One of the main differences between the iPhone 12 Pro Max and the iPhone 12 Pro is the physical size. Now, this is Apple's largest iPhone yet, and the size is amplified even more due to the flattened edges of the top and bottom glass and the side frame. It's a heavy phone too, weighing at around 226 grams. Now I think I have moderately large hands, but even for me, the iPhone 12 Pro Max felt a bit too large initially to comfortably use it, and I'm not even talking about one-handed use here. However, despite this, I kind of grew accustomed to this size after a while. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still going to be a bit uncomfortable to carry around, and I'm guessing even more so if you happen to use a case on it. The build quality is still fantastic, just like the iPhone 12 Pro. You get the stainless steel side frame, the usual array of buttons and ports, and a frosted glass back panel. Other than the physical size, the iPhone 12 Pro Max also has the largest display ever used in an iPhone. It's a 6.7-inch OLED panel, up from 6.5 inches from last year's Max model. It also has a higher resolution compared to the iPhone 12 Pro. However, everything else including the brightness level, contrast ratio, color gamut, etc. are pretty much identical. I really wish Apple would have used a higher refresh rate on this Pro Max model, but I guess we'll have to wait and hope that we get it next year. Now let's talk about performance, which again is very similar to that of the iPhone 12 Pro. It uses the same Apple A14 Bionic SoC and the same capacity of RAM at around 6 GB. iOS 14 runs very well, and in my experience was similar to when I used the iPhone 12 Pro. However, I do wish Apple would have included better multitasking options on the 12 Pro Max to take advantage of all the screen space. Now, most popular video streaming apps will run in picture-in-picture mode automatically when you switch to another app, but that's pretty much the extent of it. Now, reachability is also a bit of an issue with such a large display, but thankfully the old swipe down gesture does the trick. Just like the iPhone 12 Pro, the iPhone 12 Pro Max also runs very hot when gaming. Games such as the Pathless looks fantastic, but also causes the steel side frame and the rear glass to get quite hot after just a few minutes. Other heavy titles such as Free Fire also ran just fine with smooth gameplay. However, in some games I did notice that there was a dip in frame rate slightly when the phone got a bit too hot. Now moving on to battery life and performance, the iPhone 12 Pro Max uses a much larger battery capacity compared to the 12 Pro. However, it's still a bit smaller compared to last year's 11 Pro Max. Nevertheless, I found battery life to be excellent, as the iPhone 12 Pro Max easily lasted me for up to 2 full days on one charge with a medium to light usage. Gaming and heavy use of the cameras drained it a bit quicker, but the battery is still enough to carry you through one full day and then some. In our HD video loop test, the iPhone 12 Pro Max ran for nearly 17 hours, which was better than the 12 Pro, but still not as good as what we've seen from many Android phones. Now you can charge the iPhone 12 Pro Max quickly using any standard USB Type-C powered delivery charger. With the 18-watt charger that came with the iPhone 11 Pro, I managed to charge the Pro Max to about 47% in half an hour and up to 83% in an hour. Now you can use Apple's optional MagSafe wireless charger, but be aware that it does heat up quite a bit and it will take longer to fully charge the phone. Next, let's jump to the cameras, where Apple seems to have made some major upgrades compared to the 12 Pro. at least on paper. Now, the main rear camera is new and is said to have a 47% larger sensor with bigger pixels for improved low light performance compared to the 12 Pro. Apple has also used sensor shift stabilization, which means the sensor itself can move slightly on its axis to compensate for handshakes. Now, this is a bit different from OIS or optical image stabilization, where you have the lens elements moving about to compensate for handshakes. Now, this sensor shift stabilization is a first on an iPhone, but we've seen something similar from Vivo with the X50 Pro recently. Now, if you want to learn more about OIS and other tech jargon, don't forget to check out our Tech Explainer series called Elemental on Gadgets 360. Finally, Apple has also gone with the new telephoto camera with a longer focal length of 65mm versus 52mm on the 12 Pro. This means that Pro Max can give you a 2.5x optical zoom and up to 12x digital zoom, compared to the 2x optical zoom and 10x digital zoom on the 12 Pro. Other than these changes, the rest of the camera features remain the same as on the iPhone 12 Pro. All the sensors are still 12 megapixels and all support Deep Fusion, Night Mode, Night Portrait and Smart HDR3. In daylight, the differences in detail between the two phones are mostly negligible. Now, even if you magnify the images and pixel peep, it's really hard to find many differences, if any, between the photos taken with the 12 Pro Max and the 12 Pro. Now, this goes for the ultra-wide cameras too, but that's not really surprising since Apple hasn't really changed anything here. Check them out yourself and let us know in the comments if you can spot anything. Now, the telephoto camera of the iPhone 12 Pro Max lets you optically zoom in a bit more than with the iPhone 12 Pro, which is nice, but once again, I didn't really notice a huge difference in actual image quality, at least during the day. Even after digitally zooming in all the way to 12x, the image quality was more or less the same. Close-up photos taken under good light looked great. Colors and details were spot on and exposure was well balanced. Portrait mode worked very well too, whether you use the main camera or the telephoto one. Once again, the results I got were very similar to what the iPhone 12 Pro can achieve. Now, the benefits of the new larger sensor in the iPhone 12 Pro Max might not be that evident during the day. However, it does help at night, though not in the way you might imagine. The thing is that both the iPhone 12 Pro and the iPhone 12 Pro Max have large f1.6 apertures. However, thanks to the larger pixels in the iPhone 12 Pro Max, it doesn't need to keep the shutter open for as long as the iPhone 12 Pro does in order to get a similar exposure at night. Now, in my experience, I noticed that the iPhone 12 Pro Max kept its shutter open for a whole second less compared to the iPhone 12 Pro, and sometimes didn't even need to engage night mode in order to get that same good exposure. I noticed mildly better details in one landscape shot that I captured with the 12 Pro Max, but in most cases, including close-ups, there was virtually no difference at all. Here are some low-light samples from the 12 Pro Max and the 12 Pro. Now, due to the shorter exposure time needed by the Pro Max in low light, it's much easier to get sharper shots since you don't have to keep your hand steady for as long. The wide-angle cameras on both the 12 Pro Max and the 12 Pro capture noticeably weaker details compared to their main cameras, but are still way ahead of what the iPhone 11 Pro series could deliver. Night portrait shots taken with the 12 Pro Max also look great. The selfie camera is identical to that on the 12 Pro, so unsurprisingly the results also are very similar. Portrait mode works well, and in low light, night mode helps produce very good exposures. Videos shot at 4K during the day looked great with excellent colors and details. Of course, Dolby Vision HDR videos look even better when watched on the iPhone 12 Pro Max's display. Now, the new sensor shift stabilization is quite effective, as video recorded on the 12 Pro Max doesn't seem to have any noticeable jitter when shooting in daylight, something that I did notice with the 12 Pro when comparing both of them side by side. Now, videos recorded at night had good details and colors, and there was very little jitter once again when walking about. Now, the stabilization is slightly better than that of the iPhone 12 Pro, but not by a whole lot. If you were expecting gimbal level stabilization from the 12 Pro Max, then that's not the case. The camera upgrades to the iPhone 12 Pro Max over the iPhone 12 Pro do make it easier to capture low-light photos and videos, and you get the benefit of slightly higher optical magnification with the telephoto camera, as well as slightly better stabilization in videos. Overall though, the results aren't a huge leap ahead. To wrap it all up, if you don't have any budget constraints, I still feel that the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a better buy than the iPhone 12 Pro. Yes, it's about 10,000 rupees more than the Pro, no matter which storage variant you pick, but you do get a much bigger display, longer battery life, and some good improvements to the rear cameras. Now, this model is certainly not for everyone, mainly due to its massive size, but if you can get used to it, it definitely offers the best iPhone experience you can get this year. Now, if you're looking for something more compact and don't mind sacrificing a few features, then the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 mini are actually excellent alternatives, and they also happen to cost way less. So that's been my review of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Let me know your thoughts about this phone in the comments below. And as always, for all things tech, log on to gadgets360.com.